The Silverstone GP was one of the most disappointing races for Mercedes. Even though Lewis Hamilton was able to grab a podium finish and get closer to the P2 fight in the Drivers' Championship. However, he's not satisfied with the work that his team has done behind the scenes and has called them out publicly regarding the pace of the W14. This was the race in which we were supposed to see Hamilton and Verstappen fight like the good old days, but instead of that we saw Hamilton struggling to pass Norris and ultimately failing to do so. With the seven-time world champion yet to sign a contract with Mercedes, this warning definitely has the potential to shape how everything will unfold between these two sides. So join me as we go through the latest development between Hamilton and Mercedes, the fierce warning sent by the Brit, and the most disappointing news that he could have heard in terms of the car's development. Mercedes brought a huge upgrade package as a continuation of the process they started back in Monaco, but exploited fully in Barcelona. During the Spanish GP, it turned out that the W14 was the second fastest car on the grid, and the progress both Hamilton and Russell made was truly astonishing, finishing P2 and P3. And in Formula One, it's known that if you do well in Barcelona, a very high-demanding track, you ought to do well on the remainder of the venues as well. But that didn't turn out to be the case for Mercedes, a scenario that left them with no choice but to go in the most disappointing direction so early in the season: focus on 2024. Silverstone was the next track on which we were supposed to see Mercedes shine and fight for race wins, and this is something that was confirmed by Wolff as well. However, with the recent surge in performance of McLaren, who've warned us in Austria with Norris' P4 finish that they do mean business and the season is far from over for them, Mercedes' hopes were shattered, and that was all visible in Hamilton's statement regarding the direction in which the team is currently heading. But before we go into that, let's see what Wolff had to say regarding the pace of their customer company in Woking, a team that struggled to get out of Q1 at the beginning of the season and now had a serious chance of finishing with both cars on the podium, had it not been for the safety car scenario that granted Hamilton a position ahead. Wolff was clearly disappointed with the pace of the W14, and it's safe to say that his hopes were very high in terms of beating McLaren on their home soil, as the Austrian went on to elaborate. When the safety car was deployed, I was pretty sure, if not convinced, that we will be eating up the McLarens and finishing with P2 and P3, or even challenging for the front. We could have had a go at them in the first few laps, but they both raced very strong with their efficiency and top speed through the high-speed corners and on the straight. There was no way to pass them. That came as a surprise. Obviously, Mercedes' biggest strength with their latest upgrade, medium and high-speed corners, has evaporated in comparison with McLaren in Silverstone. And even in the last couple of laps, when the team had a fresh set of soft tyres against Norris and Piastri's fresh sets of hard tyres, they weren't able to do anything. This is a very disappointing fact, not to mention that Russell struggled and failed to get past Leclerc in the opening stages of the race when he was on the soft compound tyre, while Leclerc was comfortably defending on the medium compound tyre. All of this means one thing: Mercedes are slowly but surely losing their grip, and this is why Hamilton wants the team to have some serious talks about the upcoming period. However, what the team announced might come as a bit of a shock to him, because it seems like they have already given up on the 2023 season due to the inefficiency that the new design and upgrades have brought, and will likely focus on the 2024 season sooner rather than later. This is something that won't sit well with both drivers, who are constantly seeking more performance out of the W14, and when talking about this, Hamilton went on to say, "It's definitely been an up and down season, and in the last year and a half. Our car, we have a lot of work to do. I think I know exactly what we need to do, and we need to have some serious conversations about what we're going to do moving forward. The McLaren is proof of the direction that they've gone. It was impressive how quick they were in high speed. We have strengths in our car, long runs are great. As soon as we get the rear end they have, we're going to be on our way. That's what we have got to fight for." Now, this isn't really the issue with Hamilton because he's constantly saying that he knows what the car needs and what the team needs to do, and as soon as they do it, they're going to be fighting up there in the front. The facts speak otherwise. Pace-wise, Mercedes have been outperformed by Ferrari and McLaren and have taken a step back along with Aston Martin. And even though the results show otherwise, the team cannot always hope for a safety car deployment to save their race. Furthermore, Mercedes may not be very willing to comply with Hamilton's request in 2023 because they have now publicly announced that the 2024 version of the car will be the primary focus of the team, and that's something that will truly shatter the hopes of the Silver Arrows fans for the remainder of the season. Earlier on, Hamilton did say that Red Bull have a significant advantage because they do not tend to work on their 2023 car and have shifted their focus to 2024, and understanding this very early in the season could help Mercedes make the right move. Give up the entire season just for you to focus and try to keep up the pace with the Austrian team for the upcoming campaign. But with Hamilton yet to continue the contract with Mercedes, situations like this definitely have the potential to shape up and change the course of the negotiation talks, because for what we know, Mercedes was supposed to be the team we need to keep a close eye on in the Silverstone race, not McLaren. When talking about a potential shift in the development of the car, Toto Wolff was more than precise about where the team is headed right now, and when asked when the shift would change from 2023 to 2024, the team principal said, "I think pretty soon. We have no choice. P2 or P3 fundamentally doesn't impact me and the team. It's about coming back and being able to win a world championship in that respect. That's not going to happen this year. So we need to set our eyes to next year and then, at all the races to come, learn and develop and make sure that we can carry that forward into next year." But having said that, the regulations are the same, so it's not that you're learning nothing by continuing this car. It's a balance that we have to strike right. Ultimately, what this means is that Mercedes have missed their development direction yet again and will now be forced to wait for a proper fight with Red Bull until the beginning of the upcoming campaign. The worst has been confirmed. This will be yet another data collection season for Mercedes, and although the promise that they had from the first batch of upgrades was more or less a very strong indicator that we were going to see a competitive car up front, that didn't exactly turn out to be the scenario with the Silver Arrows. It's without a doubt that Hamilton will continue his collaboration with Mercedes, but seeing how other teams are making massive progress in the span of 2 races while having their own engines behind their backs, it surely does make him scratch his head and ask some serious questions, as he said earlier in his interview. But maybe the issue is not with the car in the factory, but with the feedback of the drivers, as we've seen what kind of profound feedback Verstappen always gives when he drives the car. Maybe Mercedes doesn't want to reveal their cards in public, and at the end of the day, this might be yet another bluff from the Silver Arrows. But one thing is for sure, they're not in a good place right now, and Silverstone has exposed their liabilities yet again. With all this in mind, we're going to have a very interesting remainder of the season for the P2 fight, as it seems like McLaren has joined the lobby and will be more and more present on the podium finishes. If they're able to keep the momentum from Silverstone, then Mercedes will be in huge trouble, the last thing that Hamilton and the team need before signing a new contract. What do you think about Mercedes switching their focus to 2024 and Hamilton's fierce warning about the serious talks being held? Let us know in the comments below.